everyone wants the cheapest. And I thought, but I know people that when they want insurance, they want the cheapest, but yet they're like, I'm going to stick with Allstate. I'm going to stick with Farmers because
they're
the
used
good
to
hand
comfort.
people, it's that comfort knowing that if there's a problem, they're going to be there.
They feel
and
that
I
way.
went, that's not the way it is. People don't buy products from companies. They buy them from people that they trust. That's what I do all day.
Yeah.
And I mean, like one of my clients, UVU, they said, you know, I've spent 4 years on this deal. And they're like, we've got the budget we're going to buy. And then at the end of the conversation, she goes, no, I need this on a state contract because I want to buy it from you. I want someone else to buy it. If it's on a state contract, I've got to bid and you may not win it. You deserve it. I want to buy it from you. Those are nice feelings. And I thought, that's what Jacob does. Jacob needs to publicize, okay, I just saved you $800. Well, wait a minute. Am I getting crappy coverage now? And it's like, you are the bar that makes it, I don't care who you buy it from, I'm there to make it all work.
Yes.
And that was when I said, oh, I got to send this to Jacob. And that was the thing that motivated me to send it. They gave me the idea. So it's all running already.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's been going. And we're gonna leave that little bit at the beginning in too, because it's good. But yeah, I don't know, just thinking about that with what you're saying with insurance. Yeah, that absolutely happens. I have people where, you know, they've been with, and I'm not saying USA is a bad company. This is just one example of a situation. I had a friend where I was able to lower his rate $300 a month. So that's almost $4,000 a year on his auto insurance alone. And it took a year to convince him to switch over to me, paying the higher rate. Right. Yeah. And it's because his family had been with USAA. His parents went with USAA. I think most of his grandparents had been with USAA. And so it's like, I've been with USAA for so long, you know, and he actually even kept a jewelry writer policy active with USAA because they told him that would be a way he could get back in if something went weird. Right. He's been with me for almost 5 years now. I do his auto insurance. I did his home insurance. He found out he bought a new house and he didn't get insurance on it. So he was uninsured for like 4 months. And he like called me and was like, hey, I don't have that. We ended up doing earthquake and flood insurance because I educated him on those. I'm like, not everyone has these. Less than 1% of people have earthquake insurance. Less than 0.5% of people have flood insurance, but they're not automatically covered. So we talked about what he was missing. And he's like, yeah, why not get those two? Right? Why not get that coverage? Why not get this? Oh, what about this and this? So he valued being educated, but he was so put off by the lower rate. He was like, what's wrong with this? Like, is this company not going to, you know, and there was one thing that he talked to me about, and I did bring it up while we were talking. I'm like, this might be a different claims experience than you've experienced with USAA, but it's not going to be bad. This isn't a cut rate insurance company. I placed him with Bear River Mutual and they're a great company, you know, but every company has different. So he was really worried. He had a glass claim and it was just handled a little differently than he had been used to when he'd used with USA proper. And he was concerned. He's like, does this mean a problem? And it ended up being fine. It was just, oh, okay. Realizing that each insurance carrier has different processes. And just because their price is lower doesn't mean you're getting cut rate coverage. But likewise, I've had people where they have, I'm currently their agent and I do a quote to a cheaper company. And I talk about it. I'm like, look, this one is cheaper, but I've noticed over the years of doing insurance, right? Rob Jackson's insurance agency is the company that I work with, that's been around since 1974. They've noticed this company tends to be more difficult in this area. And you've expressed that you really care about that. Like you really care about how a company handles roof claims because you had a roof claim when you were younger that was handled poorly. This company tends to be more strict about this and this, or they tend to be more, you know, whatever it is. Yeah. Yeah. Or like with Progressive, also because Progressive, they're fastest growing company in the state. They actually just passed State Farm as the largest insurance carrier in Utah. And they intend to pass $1 billion in premium by the end of 2026, about a year from now. And they've grown from like 350 million to almost 700 million in the last year and a half. That's how fast Progressive is growing in the state of Utah. But I've noticed over the years, they tend to, on claims, their claims teams, whether by intention or just how they do it, tends to lowball you a little bit on total loss claims. So, right, if you have a $10,000 minivan and they might offer you $7,500, and it's not too big of a deal because usually we can do a little bit of research. We can go to Kelley Blue Book, we can go to NADA guides, we can do some research, and I've done this for clients and say, hey, it looks like 9,600 is more appropriate, and frequently we'll get them to pay a couple $1,000s more. So just knowing that before you go hand, okay, is it worth that for $300 a month? Absolutely. Is it good that your agent's going to explain? And I've had people that have made the choice to stay with the more expensive company because of that, me understanding the claims experience.
And that's what people want. People don't necessarily, don't always want the cheapest.
Yeah.
You want the best for your situation. And sometimes paying a little bit more meets your needs, where for another person, they're like, that's not important to me. And that's where a good agent is telling you what the differences are, not just here's a low price, give me the money, and they're done and you walk away. And
you never see them again.
It's like, I'm having a problem and I can't get a hold of my agent. Where with you, people are going, why do I want this? Why do I want that? What's the difference? Well, here's the differences. Which one works for you and which one doesn't?
Yeah.
And that way you can make an educated decision about which one's the best for you.
Or what coverage. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Anyways, I'm going to do my intro now, even though we're 10 minutes into it. But welcome to Financial Ginger. I'm your host, Jacob Johnson. I'm known as the insurance agent that picks up his phone. Today, I have Dana Johnson with me. He was one of the first customers I ever picked up when I got into insurance. And yeah, I thought it'd be cool to let you guys see what stories or experiences Dana's had while being with my insurance agency. So thank you so much for taking time to be on. I'm excited to talk more. Obviously, we've been talking already, but thank you.
Thanks for inviting me. I'm excited to be here. I've never done a podcast before, so I'm a little bit nervous.
It's fun.
But yeah, I'm sure it is, but I'm also not shy to talk.
Yeah.
And anyone who knows me that sees this will go, that's the truest statement that's ever been made.
Yeah, Dana's a talker for sure. That's okay. Well, we've already been talking about claims experiences and whatnot. I mean, I know that you recently had a home insurance claim. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I'll start at the beginning. It was in the morning. I was in the shower. I'd been in for maybe a minute. And my wife comes running in and April goes, Dana, turn off the water. We're having a flood in the basement. I went, what? So I turned off the water, threw on a robe, ran downstairs. And in the basement, water was dripping down the walls, dripping in, and there was an inch or two of water all over the floor. And I was like, oh my gosh, what happened? And so I quickly ran and turned off the main line to turn the water off. And it was still dripping. And I was like, it didn't stop it. You're just panicked. But I thought, oh, wait, of course it's not going to stop the second I turn off. It takes a while for it to finish dripping. So I didn't know what to do. Me and April were freaking out. And I said, go call Jacob. So we called Jacob and Jacob goes, okay, don't worry, you're covered. We'll get this going. And he talked us through a few things. And then a few minutes later, a woman called, I forget the name of the company.
Oh, it was probably Lori.
Yes, Lori.
Yeah.
She called us up from the recovery company.
Complete Restoration.
Yep. And I don't know, within 30, 40 minutes, we had a crew there.
Which is not typical. So usually it takes a couple hours for most places, but
I want to say it was under an hour. And they were there. They had, I think, 4 or 5 people that were just taking stuff out of the room and putting it outside to be drying in the sun, spreading books out, spreading things out. So they were all spread out. They had a couple contractors there looking to see what was wrong and what needed to be done. And I was like, wow, I was so nervous about this. But they came in because, you helped us saying, oh, don't worry, we'll get this going. I don't know if we filed the claim or what at the time. You just said, we'll get it taken care of. They came in and then they spent some time working through it. They tore out part of the walls, pulled up the carpet, left some fans. And the next couple of days it was dry. Then they came back and just reworked it. And within a couple of weeks, everything was back to normal.
Yeah.
And it was fine. And we were like, oh my gosh, had we had to sit on the phone, wait for someone to answer, have us file a claim, many more things would have been ruined. Yeah. We had just, my wife's father had just passed. So we had all his stuff in that room. They're irreplaceable. It was things, the only painting he ever painted and a whole bunch of other things. And some things got damaged. Some things were damaged, but putting them in the sun, you would have never known that there had ever been water on them. But it was the quick response. Had we waited a few more hours, if we waited 6 or 8 hours, I think everything would have been absolutely ruined. We would have saved nothing. None of the memorable stuff. I mean, the beds, the carpet, that can all be replaced. But family heirlooms, you can't replace. So it was nice to get it done and fixed right away. And, you were a great help because I've known of people where they've had those problems. They're like, it took us 3 days to get someone to respond.
Yeah.
So they're on the third day and they still have water in the basement, or they're squeegeeing, they're getting their shop vac sucking out the water. We didn't have to do any of that.
Yeah.
You know, within an hour or two, everything was out of the room and things were going well. And I'm like, this for this type of an emergency is a dream case scenario. And I think had we not been working with you, I don't think that would have happened that way.
Yeah. One of the things that I like to mention as a value add is availability. I try to make myself available to most of my clients pretty much whenever, right? I give my cell phone out to a lot of people, which some people are like, don't do that. And I'm like, well, you know, it's helpful. I had a recent situation where someone called me like while I was at church because their mom had gotten in a car accident with their kids and they were in a different state. And it was just, hey, and I was able to talk to their mom for a little bit and kind of give her what to do. Because that's the thing is, especially with your claim, right? Like, yes, there's many restoration companies. I'm connected with lots of them that I recommend to people. And I do that because, you know, oh, you're in Utah County. This company might be a little bit quicker. They're closer, whatever the reason is. But you wouldn't have thought to, oh, I need to air out books and lay them out, right? And that's one thing that I really like about having a trusted professional is they're going to think of things that you're not going to think of, right? They're going to make sure that, hey, have you considered this coverage, this coverage, this coverage? You know, hey, in this area, it's really common to see water damage coming from the basement. Maybe we need to consider flood insurance and whatever, you know, there's lots of things to consider. But one thing I really think is important, especially with claim, is to make sure you're getting professionals in there. Because I've seen situations where people wait, like you said, 3 days or a week. You're like, oh, it's just a little bit of water damage. We can air it out ourselves. And then they've got mold growing and then things are permanently ruined, or they've got damage to the concrete and a $10,000 claim has become a $60,000 claim and 3 months of work rather than 2 weeks. So yeah, I encourage people when there's this problem, you know, the number one question isn't, is this covered? How is it going to get done? It's how do I mitigate the bigger risks that's going to come on later? And yeah, I'm glad that I was able to help with that because that was stressful.
And you brought up that you want to have experts. Well, that's what I look at is I want an expert who I didn't even think of all those things that you not automatically, I'm sure you work to get to know them, but you have all the answers. You're not just, hey, I can get you a cheap quote or I can do this. It's when the problems arise, you're there, and not just with, oh yeah, let me fill out that form for you. That's not helpful. What's helpful is you're like, I can respond and get the right people while, you know, we're running around like Chicken Little, like, oh my gosh, the sky is falling, the house is falling apart.
The ceiling's falling.
The ceiling's falling in on us. You're taking in a calm way, getting us the right things we needed that I would have never thought about. Because you're right. Yeah. I would have probably just said, let's take everything out and just dry it out and see how it goes. But no, we got it done and it was very quick. Yeah. So you're right. We want that expert and then all the things that I would have never thought of. And we've had other things that I'm sure we'll talk about that I would have had no idea about.
Well, and I even mentioned when you first called me, I remember this. I don't know how I remember it so well, but right, it was, hey, I have a home insurance deductible. What if this ends up being less than that, right? And my thought was, even if this ends up being less than your deductible, it's better to have the professional come and look at it because they're going to think of things that, you know, they're going to check something you might not have. Because you see people are like, oh, it's just a little bit of water. They don't check it. 2 weeks later, it's like, oh, there was a drip behind my wall in the bathroom, you know, next to and now there's mold for 30 square feet in your wall because, oh, it was just a little drip and you're able to dry it yourself and you didn't. So yeah, I remember encouraging that because, hey, and it gets done quicker. And
you're right. I forgot about that. But also you're right. They came out, they had it all drying out. Then when it was almost dry, they came back, they came every day to check on it. And they came in and they said, you know what? I can't tell from this. So they cut more out of the drywall to make sure they had gotten it all, which made them notice that they had to go to the other wall on the other side, and they cut out that drywall, and they even lifted up the carpet to make sure it was all fine, which that part was, but they kept going until I would have never thought of that.
Until it was dry, for sure.
And so they went further as time went on. It's like, okay, we're having signs that we need to go deeper, which I would have never thought of that. And I think a lot of people wouldn't because we called you called the experts who really knew. Yeah. And that was a nice thing.
And that's one nice, especially as I always tell people, hey, right, like I'm the insurance agent. I don't know all the details of every single claim. I'm not supposed to, but I know who is going to be quick and who is built a track record of doing things properly. Like I've worked with some restoration companies that haven't done great jobs, and I've learned, and they're on my no list, right? Like I've got a list of here's the companies I like, here's companies I've had problems with, and right. And that's not something that you need to do as a consumer. That's something that an agent does because they want to provide value to their clients. And I don't know. I just think that that's important to do. Okay. Kind of rewinding, going back to when, cause I know we've switched your insurance companies several times over the years. Tell me a little about when you first came to be with my agency, be with Rob Jackson Insurance.
Well, when I first came to you, I thought I had really good coverage with a really good company, with a really good agent, and I was doing well on the price. I was shocked when you brought me the proposals. Not only that you saved me $1,500 a year the first year, I was like, wow, have I been being robbed by my other guy? And then I was like, wait a minute, is this the same coverage? And actually, it was better coverage.
The home insurance was higher coverage, yeah.
Yeah, I got a lower deductible with a higher maximum to be able to be paid. And I don't remember all the details of it.
I remember it was $1,000 deductible, and your old policy was like 0.5% or something like that, which ended up being like $3,500 or something like that.
Exactly. And so that worked really nice, and it was saving me money. So between the cars and the home, I was saving $1,500 a year.
Yeah.
And that was 5 years ago, before all the inflation.
I think that was 7.
Oh, was it 7?
7 years ago.
Okay. I'm not that old. It had to have been 5 years. Okay, let's say it was 7. And then, recently we had a change of taking one of our kids who got married, turned 25. So he went on his own. So we pulled him off, which I think in pulling him off, you saved us like $500 or $600 a year, which is great. But then you said, hey, now's a good time with the change to look at other alternatives. And you got me, I believe it's the same coverage, but then I saved another $800 or $900 a year.
It was also a lower deductible.
Oh, is it?
Because you had $1,000 auto deductible.
Oh, that's right.
And we changed it to $500. So it's a lower deductible. Then, well, and the big thing about that was I know that one of those good times to shop insurance is when you become an empty nester, right? That was your last kid that left home. It's like, oh, it's just you and your spouse and your cars now. That's totally different than having any number of young children, right? Going from 5 kids to 4 kids, okay, sure, it might be worth shopping at that point. And I do for people all the time. But going from 1 kid to 0 kids, or 2 kids to 0 kids, or whatever that situation is, it's a great option because companies charge differently for children. So you have some companies where it's like, oh yeah, we love couples with their vehicles. Oh, kids, we rate for them more expensive. So I just knew that was one of those indicators. This is time for you to shop. You've got no kids left in your house. Let's do it. And found an option.
No, and that was really impressive. It's like I'm getting better coverage. Now it's with a different company, which might give some people angst, but it doesn't, because I know, 1, you're not going to recommend someone that you don't trust.
Yeah.
And 2, if I have any problem, you will deal with it and take care of it.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the level playing field for me, because 1, if it's a bad company or one that's not reliable or has issues, you're not going to recommend it. And all the other things we can overcome and work through, because you will do that and I don't have to. So I still get the better benefit and the the price savings. So I believe that was kind of it. So, always saving money is good, but also each time getting better coverage, that's even better coverage for a lower price.
Yeah.
That's the way I want it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and sometimes, right, it's about having the conversations about when to pay more. Because, I regularly will have someone come in, they're like, my house is worth $1 million and I need $1 million of coverage. And I'm frequently able to talk through people, their unique situations, right? Like, hey, if you have $1 million house and you're in Highland on an acre and a half, your land's probably worth $700,000 of that $1 million, right? It's like, you don't need $1 million of insurance because you insure the home, not the market value of your whole property. So that's something that I find really common when I'm switching people over from other carrier or other agents, and sometimes that happens because the agent doesn't know, or they haven't walked through it, or whatever it is. There's a tool that I use, actually a couple tools. One of them is actually local here to Utah. I can't remember the name of it right now. Don't know why. Custom 360. And they're a house evaluation tool that we put in how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, what's the total square footage, how much of that is below ground, what's the type of countertops you have, what type of flooring do you have, right? Like hardwood flooring is obviously more expensive than vinyl, or whatever. And so going over that with someone step by step to be like, you really only need $400,000 of coverage, even though your property might be worth $1 million because of your land. Okay, cool. And that can sometimes save people money, or it's like, hey, being overinsured could cost you money. But sometimes it's just a matter of switching carriers to someone that's going to be a better price for your area or whatever the situation is.
But then you still get the same coverage, which is, again, those are the details that I don't want to worry about.
Yeah.
But knowing that you take care of them, and then you can explain it saying, here's why it's cheaper, because it will still cover your house at 100% to rebuild it, but you don't need to cover the land because your land's not going to be destroyed.
Yeah. Or here's a common situation I've run into. Someone got a rental property and they're shopping rates, and they ask me for a quote because, hey, so-and-so, right? I work with a lot of landlords, and they say, hey, so-and-so uses you, and they say you give the best rates. And I send them a rate, and they're like, that's more than what my other quote is. Why? And I'm like, send me your other quote. And I'll look at it and I'll be like, oh, well, they didn't include loss of rents coverage. If you have a claim where you can't have tenants in that house, you're still paying mortgage. But what if you don't have tenants for 6 months because of a fire? You're going to lose out on that rents. My policy includes loss of rental income. Or your policy only has $5,000 of loss of rents. I quoted you with $36,000. That's a year and a half, or based on $2,000 a month or whatever you're renting it for. I usually recommend at least 12 months. But if I remove that and I remove this, and your policy has a $2,500 deductible, mine was $1,000. If I change it and match it, look, mine's actually cheaper. Now, what do you actually want? Here's 3 different options, right? Like, here's that coverage that matches what you have. Here's what I think you should have and what I do on my own rental properties. And then here's a few optional coverages that you could or couldn't pay for. And here's why they might be useful. But if you're not concerned about this or this, then don't worry about it. Or you're like, oh, that's only $5,000 of coverage for that. I'm willing to assume that risk. And a lot of people, even if they don't go with me, right, I'm happy to help them understand what their policy does and doesn't cover, or what coverage gaps they might have. That's a phrase I use all the time, the coverage gap. Because if you are intentionally not having coverage because you want to have a lower premium, like, it's like, I'm not worried about loss of rents. I'm willing to take that risk. Cool. But you're doing it intentionally. Don't do it from ignorance, because if you're doing that, right, when something goes wrong, you're going to be really upset at your insurance agent. And I don't blame you for being upset. So I don't know. That's something that I think is important too.
No, and I agree, because when you're buying something, everyone does research. But on insurance, for some reason, people don't do research. They just go, I want the lowest price.
Yeah.
With a company I've heard of, so they can trust them.
Or more commonly, they just go with whoever they have been going with.
That's true.
Right? Or they go with, right, like my other friend Josh, where it's like, my grandparents and my parents have been with this company. I should be with this company, right? And one of the things I like about being a broker is it doesn't matter who you're with, right? As long as they're carrier I write for, I can be your agent, whether you're with Progressive or Travelers or Allstate or Nationwide or Bear River Mutual or Liberty Mutual. It's like, I can do all those companies. I've actually had situations where I've encouraged people to go get quotes from companies I don't write for. Like, hey, you're in a high wildfire risk area, or hey, you're up in, near Snowbird, you're near the ski resorts in Park City. I know for a fact that American Family, right, they're one company I don't write for. I know for a fact that Farm Bureau, they take higher wildfire risk scores and they give lower prices for those risks. I have no problem encouraging someone to go check another company I don't write for. And I had those people come back and they're like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. I'm sorry you're not getting paid for it. I'm like, that's okay. I'm doing the best for you. And when things change, you'll end up coming back and asking me for a quote, because that's what I want. Or when you have a friend, your family member, your dad, your uncle moves from Idaho to Utah, guess who's going to be the one doing the quotes for them? Me, right? And so I believe in doing good for people, even if it doesn't necessarily, if it's not the best for me.
At the moment.
Yeah, exactly. I have friends in Arizona and Idaho and one in Mississippi that they'll ask me to review their policies. I'm not going to get paid for that. I'm not going to get paid for, reviewing Julia's policy in Arizona. I love Julia as well. She used to live down the street from you, Julia Tumanavau.
Oh,
she calls me every once in a while and is like, hey, can you look at my policy? When are you going to get licensed in Arizona? I'm like, well, it's not. Anyways, so I have friends all over, and I'm like, I'm happy to review those policies and be like, hey, you're missing this coverage, or you're missing this coverage, or hey, have you checked with, I see that you're with a captive company, you're with Geico, right? So your agent probably only quotes Geico. Double check with a broker, look up brokers in your area. Or I've even done research for some people. I did this for my brother in Tennessee. I said, hey, here's 2 brokerages near you. Call them and get quotes, because you got quote from this one company. I know they only quote one carrier. Call these 2, you should get 20 or 30 other quotes. And then you can be assured that you've got. So I do that all the time. Probably shouldn't, but it's important to me. If people ask me that I show them that I can be trusted.
Yep. I've always had the saying is people don't buy from companies. People buy from people.
Yeah.
And the more they trust you, the more they're willing to give you that trust and give you that business. Because I can say, I buy from, and you name the company, but someone there did something to make you feel confident in them. And that's the way we are as people is I'm going to buy from this person because I trust that they're going to do right for me. Even if it's turning them away to another thing saying, I can't beat their price because I don't resell that one. Check them out. And you're right. What comes around goes around. Eventually they're going to call back and say, okay, my situation has changed. You treated me well. Or, hey, I have friends that want to work with you because I told them how awesome you are. And so what comes around goes around. So, which is, I don't like any salesperson, especially insurance ones that are in for the short term. Like, let me get your quote, give me your money. And then you hear from them again. You want the one that's in it for the long game of, hey, I may get your business this year. I may not, but I'm going to treat you as though you are family and as though you are a client, because of one day you might call me back and say, yeah, I'm going to go with you. So if I treat everyone well, they will, by word of mouth, people understand that I'm in this, not just for the money, but to help people.
Yeah. Well, and that's something that I feel strongly. In one of my previous episodes, I talked about with Savannah Romney. We were talking about doing one thing versus doing lots of things. And it's like, oh my gosh, I've got so many goals. I want to get this many clients. I want to get physically fit. I want to do this. I want to, build a better relationship with my spouse. I want to go on a road trip. I want to save for retirement, right? There's all these things. And I have over the last couple of months realized that focusing on Jesus Christ and being like him as my one goal makes it possible for me to achieve and work on all those other goals. And I'm not perfect at any of them. I've had times where I've done things poorly, both as an insurance agent and as a person. I'm not here to say that I'm perfect, but focusing on that one ideal of emulating and striving to be like Jesus Christ has made it so much easier to work on all those things. Mm-hmm. And I'm working on not being shy about saying that.
And I think that is important and relevant because in this day and age, we've got so many things going on in the world. It's crazy that if you can have that rock of this is what I'm doing, and you can apply those principles that Christ taught in every aspect of life, because striving for perfection or striving for doing better is what Jesus Christ was about. And you can do that in every aspect of your life. And I agree. And it's kind of nice that it's becoming more acceptable to actually say that.
Yeah.
And I encourage people to do it. Hey, that's what my rock is. That's how I do better.
Yeah. It's weird because there's a scripture that talks about like, one prophet or teacher is like telling his people to pray over the flocks of their field that they will multiply, pray over, your household that they'll be emotionally well. And, in a modern sense, that is your business and your work and also your family. And so that's been a real big changer for me over the last like month and a half, 2 months, where I'm like actively praying for my business to grow. And I find that does align with my Christian values. One of my friends who's actually, he's Muslim, Akbar Sheikh, he was teaching me about this principle of get more, give more. He's like, I want to help people make so much money that they're going to be donating to good charitable organizations that they're going to be. And so I'm like, no, there's nothing wrong with me telling people that I'm awesome and that I'm going to do a good job and that I'm doing it because Jesus saved my life and saved my soul. Like, that's great. And guess what's going to happen when I make money? I'm going to use it for good things. I'm going to raise my family. I'm going to raise my children. I'm going to find So it's like, anyways, that's a little bit off topic, but I just really want to emphasize when you're saying doing good, I'm like, the only reason I'm able to do good for people is because Christ has done good for me.
And I agree with that. But also, even just looking at what you do at work, saving people money, giving them that security, because security is what a lot of people lack. But when you have that security, knowing I can handle a car accident, I can handle a flood, I can handle an earthquake, I can handle whatever happens to my house because I'm covered. There's a security about that. I mean, you helped me get an umbrella policy.
Yeah.
Because I was starting to get worried, like, hey, my retirement's starting to come up. My house is getting valued. I'm starting to get more assets. Do I need to cover that? And you came in and said, and you explained all the value of it, the reasons why people want it, the reasons why people don't want it.
I even encouraged you not to get one. I'm like, I actually don't think you need one for your situation, but you said you wanted one. So I'm
That's
like,
right.
let's do it then.
But you did what you're supposed to. You informed me of it, and it wasn't that much. I think it's a couple $100 a year.
Yeah.
But
about 330 or something like that.
I think I remember when I signed it, I walked into April, my wife, and I said, I feel so much better because I know no matter what happens, we're secure.
Yeah.
I said, if someone wants to sue us, not that I would do something to make someone sue, but you never know in this day and age, we're covered. I said, we're getting to the point where if someone sued us and we lost everything, I can't start again.
Yeah.
And I said, heaven break. In fact, we were talking about this day before yesterday. I said, if I were to die after we got sued, if we didn't have the umbrella and you had nothing and I'm dead, like you do not have a good future.
Oh.
So that security just makes me feel like, that's one less thing I have to worry about. And so you're actually doing a good service because people are like, I know I'm covered because Jacob explained it to me. And I may not have understood every detail, but I trust Jacob that he is going to take care of me, that no matter what happens on this front, I'm covered. And that is a great blessing. That is a great service to people to say, you've got that. So this part of your life is secure and covered. You don't have to worry about that. And that goes way beyond what you're paying for.
I'm grateful for your trust.
Well, you have it. As I've looked back, I've thought, since you've been my agent, everything has gone great. No matter what accident or what has come up, it's always turned out well. And then I'm like, great that I saved money, but that security has always been there. Like the flood we talked about. We didn't talk about
your daughter's car accident.
when Crystal got in a car accident, I remember when they went on that trip, I said, remember, there's a car full of people. The second you start to get tired, you say, I'm tired, and you rotate drivers. If everyone's tired, you pull off the road. So everyone sleeps for an hour or two, or you rent a room because your safety is most important. And I remember when she's like, I ran into those little things on the side of the road and scraped up the car, the metal ones. Oh. So it scraped all the side of the car. And I was so nervous, but I called you up and you said, not a problem. We got it all taken care of. But it was nice to know that had it been worse, no one, luckily, thank heavens, no one was physically injured. But had they been, we had the coverage, we would have been taken care of. And when it's your family, you really care. And that's the security I'm talking about. Knowing that your family's protected could be the greatest disaster of your life. It's, we had the right insurance, we had the right agent, and we're okay. No matter what comes or goes, we are going to be okay and fine. And that's the security you're selling. You're not selling insurance. You're selling that security knowing, come what may, we're going to be okay. And that you can't put a price tag on. And that's what you as an agent do to make people like me feel like no matter what happens, I can call Jacob. I've called you nights. I've called you weekends. You've told me about people that have called you on holidays. And if I can't call, I can text and you respond right away. And you've got an office, which some people don't care if you have an office. Others are like, hey, I want to be able to go in. But I've stopped by and talked to the people there. Hey, I've got a question. It's nice to know that no matter which one I go, you guys are there and that you're there for us. And that's reassuring.
Thanks. Thanks, Dana.
Any other questions? Anything else you want to talk about?
I don't know. I know you might have had something you wanted to bring up, but if not, that's totally fine. I just want to thank you so much for coming on, spending your morning here, sharing about your experience working with me. It's awesome. I've loved getting to know you.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that I thought was funny.
Yeah.
When we just changed insurance, I went on a trip and I'm literally standing at the car rental counter. There's a line. Everyone's always rushed getting into the airport. And I didn't remember who the insurance was because it had just been like the day before.
Switched.
And I didn't know if I had coverage for this. So I called you. You answered the phone. I got the answer. that yes, it was covered. So again, saved me more money. So I didn't have to add any extra insurance to it. And I was able to give them the name because they always require that now. Where a lot of agents, I would have just said, yeah, I'm going to have to pay for it because I don't know for sure. But you answered the phone. I had 30 seconds to get the answer, and you were there and you gave me the answer. I told them the thing, and the lady commented, she goes, was that your insurance agent? And I said, yes. And they're like, and they answered the phone. And I said, yes. And they're like, you've got a really rare insurance agent. And I said, yes, I do.
And it's silly because, right, like insurance is just one little piece of life, right? And I want it to where I just want people to not have to worry, right? I want people to, and don't get me wrong, I don't always answer my phone. I strive to, but not, I've had times where people call me and I'm like, I'm on another phone call, let me call you back. Or I'm asleep and I'm like, sorry, I didn't get it. Like, and I try to make resources available, and I got them on our website where it's like, hey, here's general phone numbers for things. But it just, with life being as complicated as it is, I want you to, after you've bought a policy from me, feel like I know what's covered. I know what isn't covered, right? Or I know, right, the things I'm worried about are covered, or whatever it is. It's just, I want peace of mind. That's what I really want. I want peace of mind. And that's all an insurance. It's just, this is just one little piece of your life, right? Like you've got your kids, and you've got your family, and you've got your grandkids, and you've got your sporting events, and you've got your business trips and all of that. And it's just like, I don't want to have to think about insurance. I want to think about insurance when I buy a new car. I want to think about insurance when my son moves out of his house. I want to think about insurance when I'm buying. I don't want to think about it unless something goes wrong. And that's what I want to be. I'm like, hey, if we only talk, I have some people I've talked to twice in the last 3 years since I set them up. But I've talked to them exactly as much as they've wanted to talk to me, right? And that's all I want is I want people to feel that they can trust me, and that, right, like you're saying, like it's just, hey, when something's gonna go wrong, I know that Jacob's got my back and he's gonna do everything he can. I've had times where I've spent an hour and a half on the phone figuring out something for someone because it's really specific. They're like, hey, I had a claim 10 years ago. It wasn't covered for this weird reason. Like, here's the exact weird things about it. And I'm like, oh, I have no idea. And I've actually found situations where this company says, yes, that's covered. And this company says, no, that's not covered. I'm like, I would have assumed they were both covered, but I'm willing to figure that. Anyways, I'm getting, so yeah, thank you so much.
No, I'll tell you one more thing. Back several years ago when there was floods everywhere, it was a really bad summer. And it was all over the news every night. And I called you up and I said, should I get flood insurance? And you took the time and explained the pros, the cons. And you said, well, you're in an area that's really not high risk of floods, but the decision's yours, after you gave me all the information. And I said, well, let me think about it. Well, it was what was keeping me up at night. So I said, you know what? For me, it's not that much money. Let's get it. Then I was able to sleep through the night. But then the next year, because I had to do a policy for so long, you called me up and you said, hey, it's time for renewing that.
Do you want it?
Do you want it? The flood concerns are gone. And you kind of recommend not needing it. And I agreed. So I got rid of it and didn't worry about it. But for that year, I slept better because I had the coverage. But you took the time to explain it to me, the pros and cons, and you kind of discouraged me from getting it because
the one thing you were really worried, I'm worried about this specific kind of flood. And I said, that's isn't not covered. No flood insurance in the entire world
covers that.
The NFIP, the federal flood insurance, they will not cover that type of wade water entering your home. So, but I'm like, but the other ways.
But the other ways I was still concerned about. But again, I was able to sleep, and it was set it and forget it. I didn't have to worry about it. I didn't have to worry about canceling it. You called me up and said, hey, do you want to cancel it now because that concern is gone? And I did. So it was a nice feeling. So you do a great job. If you want an agent that's going to not just give you a low price or try to give you a low price or give you the one price or whatever, and they give it to you and you never hear from them. If you want someone that you can say, I'm getting the best coverage for me at the best price, and I have someone that's going to be there when I need them, I'd call you. If you don't want that and you just want a low price, you don't care how you're treated if you have an accident or a problem, go with anybody. But if you want someone who's going to take care of you, call you. And that's what I tell everyone that asks me about insurance.
And a lot of people have actually asked you how to drive. I've got a lot of people referring me from you. There's a few people that it's like, man, these are great people. Because some people ask them about stuff anyways. Like I know that people will go, they'll call you up to go shopping for fridges, you know, or didn't your boss one time fly from New York to like go appliance shopping with you? Because it's like Dana's the guy who knows how to shop for appliances, right? So people ask your opinion, and it's very valuable to me to have your trust. And yeah, I want to do that for everyone. The mission, the dream of Financial Ginger is to help 3,000 families have safety, security, and an agent that answers the call. So thank you so much for being on.
Thanks for inviting me.
Appreciate your time. Thank you guys so much. Oh, leave a comment. Have you had a crazy insurance experience? Do you like your current agent? Have you had a weird situation that your agent looked up something for you? Or do you just want a quote? You can hit me up. My phone number is 801-500-8710, or you can email me at thefinancialginger@gmail.com. And I'm going to get a formal website soon.
I have a comment for you. Just came to my mind. And you can edit this out if you don't want to put it on.
Sure.
If you want to find out if you have a good agent, call them in the afternoon or call them in the morning and see if they answer the phone.
Ooh.
And if they don't answer the phone, which I doubt they will, see how long it takes them to call you back. Don't say there's a disaster. Just say, hey, I called, I had a question. And then when they call you back, say, the question was, how long will it take you to call me back?
Love it. Yeah, we actually have one of our non-negotiables is any calls to the office that are overnight. We call them back before 10 o'clock every day. So right about now, everyone should have been called back that left us a voicemail overnight. And if they haven't been, someone's going to get talked to. No, that always happens. Thank you so much, Dana. Appreciate it.
Thanks.